Everyone's using this on their websites. It's really common. And so even doing something slightly different is going to give you a competitive edge, or it's going to make you seem different in that way.
Sharp strategies, sweet success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sharp Strategy Sweet Success. This is your host, Tiffany Swedensky. And today I have a very special guest with me, John Grisham. John?
Hello, Tiffany. I am the John Grisham, the one and only. Definitely the person you were expecting to see.
Maybe, maybe not. If you can't tell, this is an April Fool's episode. So thank you for joining and tuning in for this episode. If you're a little bit disappointed at this point, I apologize. I'm going to have John. John is actually my cousin, the John Grisham. And we're going to talk to John a little bit, get caught up on what he is doing. And then after, we're going to do a part 2 of our April Fool's episode about deception and marketing. John, why don't you tell the listeners about yourself so they just don't feel like I pulled a guy off the street?
Fair enough. Yeah. So, obviously my name is John Grisham. I was actually named after my grandfather. And, you may have been around before the times when that was kind of a joke. I don't know when John Grisham was born, but he's in like his 40s, 50s at this point. He's getting up there, though.
Yeah, probably. He might be in his 60s, but I'll Google it really quick.
Yeah, he's getting fairly old at this point, I think. But all that aside, I'm a software engineer, currently working for a company called Medallia. I just kind of do a lot of their authentication and SSO stuff. Not really anything that's kind of parallel to what you might be doing on the marketing side, Tiffany. But I am curious to know more about that. Yeah, I don't know much about marketing, so I can't really speak to that. I think I looked at some SEO stuff a while back, kind of got bored with it. That's about as far as I've got. Did some blogging, I guess.
I'm the cousin who went with the marketing route. Well, John, thank you so much for being a guest. Your part in this episode is kind of short, considering that your name is going to be used on the title and is probably going to be the biggest draw of the episode. But I needed to talk to you enough to pay off the joke, so people, like I said, didn't think I pulled a random guy off the street, and I did put a little bit of effort into this one. But thanks so much, and everyone who's listening, stick around to listen to part 2 about deception and marketing. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of this episode about deception and marketing. This is your host, Tiffany Swedensky. I really appreciate you sticking around, and I'm sorry if you feel especially tricked in how I got you to listen to this episode today. I do kind of enjoy April Fools. I always find it really funny when businesses play some sort of light tricks on these holidays. And also, frankly, it's a way to get attention. And that's why you're here today. I wanted your attention, and so I used a little bit of deception to get you here. Now, it really doesn't seem like deception and legal marketing should go together, but marketing is pretty well known for being a kind of deceptive discipline. Companies get in trouble all the time for using underhanded tactics to get people to buy their products. And then usually when people buy a product and find it doesn't meet their needs or doesn't at least meet the claims that marketing made, they feel deceived. And that's when they seek refunds. That's when a product gets a bad reputation. You definitely don't want to be deceitful in that way. But being strictly honest is also not extremely compelling. Now, it's really important to be honest and trustworthy, particularly in the legal field. You want people to know that they can trust you. And I mean, that's very, very valid. And most businesses want that for themselves. Nobody wants to be the trickster business, so to speak. But the straight, honest message is not usually very compelling. You can't put a headline out there that says, we're just like the other guys, but we want your case. Or what was the example I left for myself? we're not the best, but we're honest. That's not really a good tagline that's going to get people hooked into your business. So you have to learn how to get creative and say you're the best without saying you're the best. Speaking of the word best, by the way, that is one of the most common search modifiers in the legal industry. Now, what does that mean? So when people go to search for an attorney, and let's say they're searching for personal injury attorney, they're going to type in that keyword, or they're going to type in or they're going to type in a search modifier. So most common one that you're probably really familiar with is personal injury attorney near me. And that's a search modifier for somebody wanting to find an attorney near them. Well, one of the more common modifiers when people are searching for an attorney is actually the word best. People are often searching for the best attorneys near me. And any page that helps them sort and rank attorneys is going to heavily influence their buying decision. And it's important to keep that in mind. Best is what people are looking for, but we can't say best. So we have to get creative in how we show up. And even though, like, meaningfully, yes, most personal injury law firms, most law firms are the same. You might be a better attorney than another guy. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things in the world to hear attorneys talk about their competitors. Like, it cracks me up every time somebody's like, oh, that guy sucks. Like, every one of you do that, and it's hilarious. But we all know somebody who's probably not the best business person, best attorney. And, so we all have those people in our categories, but meaningfully, all businesses are kind of the same in what they can deliver, what's in their capacity to deliver. And so in marketing, we have to use creativity to get attention when maybe we weren't getting attention before. And I'll go over a lot of these ways, these creative ways on how we get attention. So far in this episode, I've been using the word deception, but I think a better word, and the word that I think I'm going to land on, is strategic presentation. Because again, we're talking about presenting ourselves as the best option without literally being the best. And so we're going to be using a little bit of deception to strategically present ourselves and place ourselves in these spaces where people are looking for basically ranked attorneys. So, I'm just going to highlight the most common example. It's the one I see all the time, not just in legal, but in any like small professional business, which are the best of awards. And these are truly pay to play awards. I say truly. I'm sure some of them are actually real. I've definitely participated in a few competitions where we're collecting reviews and votes to make our business like the best of Fairfax County or the best of Lawrence and these types of awards that are actually more authentic, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those emails that you get that says, hey, you've been nominated for best personal injury attorney in Bartlett County. Yeah, 2027, 2 years in the future. And, we're going to send you in a plaque and you can use the badge on your website. We're going to send you something you can frame in your office. All it's required is $250. And sometimes these packages come with online ads. They'll do some social media marketing. They'll give you some creatives and all that good stuff. And, everyone I talk to kind of hates these awards because they're truly not a measure of who is best. But most people don't know that. Most people, the regular person who's seeking a personal injury attorney, who's trying to find the best veterinarian. I see these awards in my veterinarian's office. They don't know. They don't know that these awards are, given to anyone who pays for the plaque, pays for the little thing that they hang on the wall or the little sculpture that they put on their desk. Like, people just don't know. And when people are trying to like make decisions of who to hire, who's the best, who can I trust with my pet, who can I trust with my case, they're looking for all of the like hallmarks of a good business. And all of those hallmarks are going to be tons of reviews, awards, being published, having like an easy to understand website, a professional website, having good like communication, like during the whole process, like before you've officially spent any money with them, during and after. People are looking for all these things, and they're looking for ways to make their decision easier. And so you walk into a veterinary office and you see an entire wall from 2012 to 2025 of these best of plaques and these awards. And it just seems really obvious that this business has it going on in some way, right? And even as a marketer, even though I look at those plaques and I am fully aware of how they got them, it's interesting that I think, well, at least that they're with it enough as a business that they actually do this and do this consistently. So even as a marketer, I'm not immediately fooled and think they are truly the best. They have won these awards. But as a marketer, I'm aware that, maintaining a consistent marketing habit, doing the right things over and over, keeping up with those awards, hanging them up on their wall, they at least have something going on internally that enables them to do this. And so even me as a marketer, I trust them more, right? I trust them more. And so it's important to, keep in mind that people are going to be taking these mental shortcuts when evaluating your business. And sometimes it can seem unfair because I've definitely had, my own competitors outdo me because they claim that they've won something or they claim that they've done something. And, I might think, oh, that's not that impressive, or, oh, that's just not that cool, or though they just paid for that. I know these and I think those things, but I also know that people who are looking for a marketing agency or a fractional CMO, don't exactly know what they're looking for, maybe. Or they're just looking for those mental shortcuts. And it's just like, oh, this person won an award, so I'm going to go work with them. And for me, it's kind of sad, but, I have to acknowledge, and my choices are basically play the game or continue to lose clients because I can't necessarily change the way people think and how they make choices. And you can't, let's accept that for what it is. So another way that we use strategic presentation in our marketing, deception, or whatever you want to call it, is by how we present ourselves and our services on our website. And classically, the idea is that you want to trademark or name or patent some sort of process that makes you unique, even though your competitor might be doing the same thing. And so I feel like I'm dancing around it. What I'm talking about typically are like free consultations, right? Most law firms, most businesses even will use the consultation as a gateway point. And everyone wants their target client to take that first step and book that free 30-minute discovery meeting consultation. Lawyers use it for their clients, vendors use it to sell their SEO services, marketing agencies use it to sell their services. And typically it's a way to get a commitment out of our potential clients. But the truth is that all businesses do this. All businesses have this free consultation, this free initial phone call, and it means a lot more to the potential client than it does for the business internally. Because often we're presenting these as fact finding sessions, discovery sessions, processes. And even though everyone's doing kind of the same thing, we have to make our free consultation look different, more special, more in depth than another law firm's free consultation, even though, again, meaningfully they're the same thing. And so what we typically do is we'll put a name on it, like a patented process or a name. Or even if we don't do that, we're at least doing something other than free consultation. Because in the law firm marketplace, free consultation is pretty ubiquitous. Everyone's using this on their websites. It's really common. And so even doing something slightly different is going to give you a competitive edge, or it's going to make you seem different in that way. And so when we're talking about strategic presentation, deception, whatever, making our processes, even though they're probably more or less the same as in other businesses, seem unique by giving them a unique name or describing them in a special way, creating an infographic, making the process feel formal, sending them onboarding documents, sending them consistent follow-up and preparation for the meeting. And all of that kind of marketing that comes between the lead and when they actually sign as a client to make them feel like they're part of something special and different. And, the other law firm down the street, I called them, I spoke to the receptionist. They said the attorney would call me back, and I haven't heard from them. But these guys are taking care of me. And that can mean the world of a difference in terms of signing client. And that's not deception because you're actually putting in the work to create those follow-up systems. That's real. But, again, probably internally, like from the business owner's perspective, these two businesses are running more or less the same. One just has better follow-up. So another thing that's coming up quite a bit, like these inauthentic kind of experiences, is like AI chatbots, right? So AI chatbots or AI bots that are doing automated follow-up, immediate like text back for potential cases. Even some of these bots are boasting they'll be able to sign clients. This is another way that we're strategically presenting ourselves in a way that we're not internally doing very much different from our competitors, but we also have, this tool that we're using to help convert and sign clients. And for most people, they're going to interact with this AI bot, maybe thinking it's a real person. Honestly, that's the beauty of any kind of follow-up after somebody reaches out to you. If you structure your follow-up in a way that seems authentic, like it's coming from the business owner, so like the from name is the business owner's name, the from email is what looks like a business owner's email. We're creating the illusion that somebody saw, their submission, saw their web form, saw their intake, and then sent a personal email following up with them. And that's a whole lot more meaningful than do not reply at lawfirm.com or something similar, right? And that's one thing that we've been doing in email newsletters for a long time now, simulating the personal one-on-one email, because that's the type of email that people want and that people engage with. And that makes it seem like the business owner is more engaged with this particular case. So we're using AI to create these simulated live experiences, and people actually really seem to appreciate them. And, to use, a legal joke, the jury is out on how people actually will appreciate this long term. I mean, my personal opinion is that I think most people who fill out web forms, who fill out chats, don't necessarily need actual human interaction to feel like they're being tended to, but the automated follow-up and the automated chatbots will give them that impression that they're important, that they're being followed up with, that their case is being reviewed. When somebody submits a web form at, let's just say 9 p.m., somebody submits a web form, I don't believe most of those people have the expectation that their call will be returned immediately. But if they do and they get like an AI response, I don't think that's going to offend anyone. I just think it's going to show that you care about their customer and user experience. And also, I think people are coming to expect AI chatbots and often maybe think that they're being used in places where they're not being used. So I think it's become an expectation. Again, another way we're trying to simulate something that's not exactly real. Because no small law firm with, 5 attorneys is actually going to follow up immediately at 9 p.m., but you can simulate that for sure. So another example of strategic presentation is using hooks. And hooks are essential in pretty much all parts of marketing. In emails, our subject lines are our hooks. In TikTok videos, usually the first few seconds is a hook. Same with Instagram Reels. YouTube videos do the same thing. You start with an exaggerated, interesting, or curiosity-provoking statement that gets people to stick with your video beyond, the first few seconds. And so look at practically any medium, and there's a hook aspect to it where you're capturing user attention, you're stopping the scroll, you're stopping them from going on what they're doing next, and you're getting them to focus on your content. And by and large, hooks are usually rarely a completely honest and accurate reflection of the actual content. And I think most people even have the expectation that hooks aren't going to exactly represent what you're talking about. But of course, as much as you can, if you have an interesting topic that you don't need to exaggerate to make a compelling hook, great. But, if you're writing, an FAQ article, let's just say I use so many examples. I'm going to use my favorite. Like, let's say you're talking about an FAQ, which is what if the other driver is lying? That's a common FAQ about personal injury cases. 1,001 attorneys have written that article. 1,001 attorneys have answered that question in probably a couple hundred different ways. And there's not really, you're not going to be breaking ground by answering that question on your blog, on your social media, in your videos, right? It's very compelling. It's a question that everyone has, but if you're the 1,001 attorney to write that or talk about it, it's not going to grab attention. So if we're answering that FAQ, like if we're taking that article, an interesting hook could be, my client was originally offered $0 because the other driver said it was their fault, and I got them to turn it around to $2 million. Overly exaggerated example, right? But that hook, that headline is definitely a lot more attention grabbing than what if the other driver was lying. And so don't think of it as lying, deception. Again, think of it more of a strategic presentation. You have to present the information that you have as being interesting in a lot of ways to get people's attention. And you really have to go above and beyond here. If you want a good video marketing program, good hooks are essential. And knowing how to create these, rate these, how to take something that's maybe not quite so interesting and spin it into something actually interesting. These are a lot of like good old fashioned like journalism tricks to get people to pay attention to your article about the war versus somebody else's article about the war. And it's a part of that whole marketing, journalism, creative process. No matter what business you're in or what product you are selling, puffery is kind of essential, and it's a part of the marketing engine. And there are a lot more ways that you can make your business seem better than another business. And a lot of these are quite engineered. Recently, there's like a Will Smith TikTok video that went viral. He was doing a dance from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the day. And I saw that reel, and then a couple days later, I saw a behind the scenes reel. And unsurprising to me, an entire team filled that. Camera crew, sound crew, there is lighting, there's presentation. It was very clear that this TikTok video was very orchestrated and engineered. And there were quite a few people in the comments talking about how they felt a little bit betrayed because for them, the original video seemed very spontaneous, seemed very lighthearted, seemed very friendly. And by and large, people typically see when marketing is engineered for entertainment in that way. That video with Will Smith, that's good PR. That's good marketing. The fact that it was engineered for me doesn't really take away from the fact, but it did have the impression that it was, authentic or spontaneous is probably a better word for it. And so we have to engineer or create these moments within our business. And I guess in a way, that is kind of a deception. A lot of businesses doing community marketing programs or talking and doing interviews from the stage, a lot of that is engineered. But for your potential client, they don't really see it that way. They see a business who cares. They see a business who gives back. And it's important to know that we're trying to create the perception that, again, like we're more notable, better than another business. Another shortcut people take is like how engaged that business is, how local it is, how kind, caring, but basically like how nice is that business and how do they present themselves. And most people aren't going to see the engineering part of it. And one example that comes to mind, if I'm struggling to explain this, is the VIP program. A lot of law firms have some sort of VIP program, and I was explaining the program to an attorney, and I was like, okay, here's the rundown. Here are the basics of what they get. A free 30-minute phone interview consultation about any legal issue. Free document review. They have to bring in their documents. Free notary. And free newsletter, free monthly drawings. And then usually there are a few others that are unique to each law firm. Most law firms have this type of VIP program. We include, whoever we want. And in who we included in the VIP program became a topic of discussion because I was telling them we can include everyone. The clients, potential clients, qualified leads. We can make the offer to everyone and say that they're a part of the VIP program. And the response I got was, well, are they really VIP if we're including everyone? I mean, what makes them special? And, my response, and they totally understood. My response is like the potential client, the former client does not know how many people are a part of our VIP program. They have no idea what the membership includes. And if we ever do a live event and we invite a bunch of people, they're just going to assume that, that's the VIP group and maybe it's not much bigger than that. But, they're not really going to question, how exclusive is this? They're probably not going to reach out to the business and be like, how many people are in your VIP program? Does this really matter? Does this mean something? No, they don't react that way. They see the VIP program, they feel special. They usually don't question it. It's a very engineered experience for them. And in some ways, it's not super authentic, but it gives them the impression that you have this elevated level of customer service. And it's important to, again, like people don't see the production that goes into marketing. People underestimate what is marketing because they don't. Sometimes marketing is engineered to seem very real, very spontaneous, very authentic. And sometimes like when I'm talking about launching programs, I get a little pushback and it's like, well, wait, like why are we putting that much work into it? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And I'm like, we're building the whole thing. We're building the entire thing for people to see. We want people to engage. And so we're going to make this program, make it seem not about like getting more cases and leads, but make it seem about, something else. And I feel kind of shady talking about this stuff, but this is the reality of marketing. Like this is what we're trying to create, these engineered, authentic experiences, AI chatbots, VIP programs. We're doing community marketing and we hope that it helps with referrals. We also hope it helps whatever charity that we're promoting, but really what we want are more people on our list, right? And, I think to be mature as a marketer is like realizing this, accepting this, that we're trying to create this experience and we're trying to get people excited about something that, isn't too different from what somebody else is doing, but we're going to be better about promoting it to our core audience or our target audience. So thank you all for tuning in and listening to this episode. I'm really sorry if you're a John Grisham fan and you're disappointed I didn't actually talk to him. This episode is being aired on April Fool's. If you're listening to it at any other time, the intro might not make too much sense, but hopefully I explained that well enough in the beginning. This is a pretty interesting episode. I selected the topic because it was an April Fool's episode, because I wanted to make a joke. And when I thought about it, like, what could I talk about in part 2 of this episode, this seemed perfect. And it's not really marketing. You know, we don't talk about this on LinkedIn because it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about puffery, and it's hard to talk about, you know, deception and presentation and making ourselves seem like we're the best when maybe we're the same as everyone else, right? So it's interesting to talk about. And this kind of conversation is usually the marketing conversation that gets talked about behind closed doors in mastermind groups and in seminars. And it's really fun to kind of bring this out in the open, talk about this episode. I'm kind of curious to see what the response it gets. But if you are interested in this kind of in-depth conversation, this type of behind the scenes look, inside baseball, whatever the heck you want to call it, I am hosting a seminar, 2-day seminar in Fairfax, Virginia, June 12th through the 13th for marketing directors. It's the Sharp Marketing Seminar, and we are covering everything soup to nuts when it comes to marketing. Because I want to give your marketer a framework to walk away from the seminar with to implement in your law firm over the next 12 months. And so if you're a law firm and you have a marketer and there's somebody who, you know, is really eager to learn more and really eager to implement marketing, but maybe they need a little help. Maybe they're just a continual learner and they're always doing these kind of trainings or webinars. Or if you really just, you know, need to give your marketer expert guidance, because a lot of marketers working for law firms that get hired, sometimes they have marketing experience, but they've never worked in a law firm before. Sometimes they have marketing experience, but it was in this small part and they're not used to generating referrals. They don't quite know how to generate phone calls or to get more phone calls. This would be the perfect event for them. If you're interested and you want to sign your marketer up or you want to sign up yourself, visit sharpmarketingseminar.com. That should take you to the event page. You can learn all about it, see the agenda, see the schedule, and learn more a little bit about my business and what I do for my clients and the kind of marketing I teach. So I hope to see you guys there in June. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.